So Summer Huntington is an amazing local entrepreneur. Met her over 2 years ago now. Really just like a vibrant person in general, but also is doing a lot of really great things for our community and abroad. I mean, every time I see her on Facebook, she's like somewhere else in the world, really bringing this message that she's really positive about, really passionate about, which kind of is flowing into a lot of things. With Club L yoga, with flow, with teaching people how do we get into flow, how do we stay in flow, how does that show up in our lives, how do we implement into our lives, and what is the impact that it could actually have in our daily lives and in our work and our relationships. So Summer is going to talk today about sort of what that looks like and how we can incorporate it as well. So thank you for coming. Yeah, and I'd love to just hear your story and tell us more about what this means.
Cool. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right, well, firstly, thank you guys for being here. It's a pleasure and honor to present this to my community. And as Morgan said, I definitely do travel globally. My main platform is Club L Yoga, which is a style of yoga that I founded in 2011.
Better? Okay, cool. Okay, so mental flow has kind of transitioned into a topic that I speak on now in addition to Club L Yoga. So let's get started with our very first slide. So this is a video that was shot way before Club L Yoga was invented, about a year before. And the reason I want to show this video, and actually I'll just kind of play it because there's no audio as we go here. But I want to just demonstrate how when you make a declaration, your thoughts start to become your reality. So this video was shot by a local filmographer, and it was meant to be like a trailer for a documentary or a video that I wanted to shoot later on. And this is before I created Club L Yoga. I just put it out into the universe that I wanted to start filming yoga and teach yoga to the masses in a way that was really accessible for people. Again, Club L Yoga had not been invented. And it's just interesting looking back at that moment when I had put intention into creating something new and usable for people, and now looking 6 years later how it's transitioned into this whole like global program of yoga. So just go ahead and watch for a second here. Also, this is really like amateur footage. I had not been used to being on camera at all.
What I'm trying to do in this film is to break down the poses in such a way that you can get a little more out of it than you would if you were just watching a typical yoga videos. Spending time on alignment or giving you little tricks to get you into a better downward dog, or just getting into a deeper warrior two. There's a lot of tricks to the trade that you don't really necessarily learn when you're just taking a huge class. Sometimes you need a little bit of one-on-one.
Alright, so that was pre-Club L Yoga. Let's fast forward a little bit here. So, a little bit of backstory on myself. It's always good to know people's kind of background and understand them on a personal level before you go into presenting. I don't define myself solely by my credentials, but I'll share those on the next slide. I have a 4-year-old son, and that's him up there in his teeth. I'm a leader in Club L Yoga. I'm an entrepreneur. I live off the grid. I built a tiny home. There'll be a couple slides on that as well. I practice aerial silks. I'm a dancer. I'm a mentor. I'm a coach of coaches. And I'd like for you guys to turn to the person next to you and tell them what you are. And try, this is a kind of an interesting experiment, try maintaining eye contact with them the whole time. This is a yoga technique that we use where you just state who you are, and you'll notice that you start to state things that are not just your profession, but also who you are as a person. So go ahead and turn next to someone and just take a minute to continuously tell them who you are. All right, go ahead and wrap up. And how was that exercise? How is it to maintain eye contact with a new person, with a stranger? It's a little difficult? Or maybe it came easy to you. So a big thing that I've learned in yoga over the years is that yoga means union. It's a unity of body, mind, and breath through the practice of, it can be physical asana, it can be meditation, But overall, the take-home message when we practice yoga is to release the veil of separateness and know that we are all the same. And we have different goals, we have different things that we do, but that we all come from a similar human condition. So more on how thoughts can become action or can become your reality. When I was traveling in Costa Rica with my partner last winter, we took Anthony Ponce-Leon here. We took 3 months to just go and be away for the winter and travel and see what came to us in our entrepreneurial path. And as we were coming back, I had this thought that maybe I should build a tiny home. So I literally, in Costa Rica, started calling people, different people. These are actually my sketches that I designed my own tiny home with. And then the time from thought to manifestation phase, which we'll talk about going through the energetic centers to actually bring a thought into the physical plane, was about 5 months start to finish, and now we have a tiny home. And if anyone's interested or curious about tiny home life or minimalistic living, definitely chat with me, because I think it's a really great way to live, to simplify, reduce, declutter, and just be more in touch with nature. Skills and expertise. I'm a flow state of mind coach and the founder of Kinesiolyoga. I also have a local business here in town called Fit Body Wellness, where I do comprehensive wellness coaching, which means physical training, teaching about essential oils, teaching about lifestyle, and self-myofascial release. I'm a master trainer for RAD Roller. I brought a couple RAD Roller tools, but this is a really innovative tool that allows you to basically learn how to massage yourself on a daily basis. So you can do, I usually do 3 to 4 days a week where I'm doing specifically self-myofascial release as a self-care practice. All right, let's talk about the original flow coach, Dr. Scott Sonnen, who you see here. He's also a Bellingham entrepreneur, and I was fortunate enough to have our paths cross when I was studying exercise science at Western. So here I am, this green behind the ears 21-year-old who just happened to get recruited by his wife, actually, to nanny their kids. And I remember this very vividly, doing the interview where I was checking out their house, getting to know the kids, and Scott's sitting there. I'm an athlete, and I was very fit at the time. And he's eyeing me up and down and saying, what sports do you do? And I said, well, I'm training for a triathlon coming up here. I'm a pole vaulter. I ran cross country, and he's like, you're going to be in my video, in my clubbell video, this is a heavy club. The clubbell yoga that I teach has definitely lighter clubs. So he recruited me to be a model for his encyclopedia of clubbell training. And back when they had DVDs, this was about 10 years ago. And I remember this moment where I could have dropped out and not done it because of fear, because I was a little bit shy, a little bit embarrassed of wearing like a sports bra with my midriff showing, heaven forbid. This was before Instagram. Now there's all sorts of naked yoga. But I almost didn't do it, and I'm so glad that I ended up doing it, because it gave me the confidence to start producing my own yoga videos. And I have 4 programs online, and I've been mentored by Dr. Scott Sonnen for a number of years now. And you can see this is Chris Pine. He's trained by a good friend of mine, Mark Wildman, in LA. And this is a really innovative way to train your body and to train your nervous system. Think for a moment about the top 5 people that you spend time with. You name them off in your head. The most quantity of time that you are investing energy into. Even if you can just think of the top 3, you start to become the people that you spend the most time with. So I tend to spend a lot of time with athletes and with practitioners, movement practitioners. I have a friend here, actually, Travis Janeway, who we train once or twice a week. And teaching my seminars and just being around people that are wanting to better themselves in some way, and usually starting with the physical vessel. And then once you really work on your physical vessel and you get that under control, and you can optimize your physical performance, optimize your nervous system, which we'll talk about how to do that in the next couple of slides. The sky's the limit, guys. You can really take your ideas, your thoughts, when you are optimizing your flow, and start to create what you've wanted to manifest into the world. And perfect proof of that is Kinesiolyoga launched in 2011. It went global in year 2. I've taught this system in London, Australia, Budapest, Spain, New York, Chicago. The sky's the limit if you really put your mind to creating something and getting yourself out there, getting visible, and putting quality content out into the world, building brands with heart, that you can eventually get to a point where you actually get out there and teach it. But maybe your businesses are a little bit different, but this is just one example of how that thought in that initial video manifested into reality. All right, so one thing that I come across often I do flow state of mind coaching, which is an entrepreneurship style of coaching for people to maintain work-life balance. I run into this often. The people that come to me are usually burned out. They're usually in a state of overwhelm. And the markers are really similar between overtraining and burnout. So I have some of them listed, and I know, does anyone identify with this photo, like this kind of feeling like the end of your week? Have you ever experienced that? Raise your hand, just having, yes. Okay, so it's a low-grade stress response that's triggered by the amygdala, and when you're doing too many things or not taking time for self-care, this can be the result, but there are ways to combat that so that that's not your everyday go-to state of mind. We need to experience flow for it to actually mean something to us. I did an event in June. Again, this event was a thought that I came up with when Anthony and I were in Peru, and we met this woman, Jessica Cornejos, in Peru. She's a shaman and natural healer, and she leads different medicinal ceremonies, but also is a life coach as well. So we had the opportunity to sit down and interview her for an hour and a half, which was awesome, when we went to the Cusco countryside and took some awesome photos. But she was a catalyst for creating this Reclaiming the Divine Flow State event that we did. And I wanted people to experience the different modalities that are out there for creating a meaningful self-care practice. So things like essential oils, meditation, and sound healing. And here's a little clip from that event.
My name's Summer Huntington. I'm the founder of Club Bell Yoga. I'm a movement coach, but I also call myself a flow state of mind coach. So I've started moving more towards flow state of mind based events that allow people to really tap into that interpersonal learning element and empower others to really take on a strong self-care practice as part of their wellness. So the Reclaiming the Divine Flow State event is really centered around self-care. How can we empower others to prioritize their self-care practice, or even start a new self-care practice if they don't have one currently, and start meditating, practicing yoga, working with essential oils, learning about Ayurvedic practices, start creating modern, everyday rituals that will help implement flow into their daily life. This is the first of many events, and each one will have a slightly different twist because the people that make up the panel really influence the way that the conversation goes. And that dialogue, that interaction between the audience and the panel members is really when the learning takes place. And I'm a huge proponent for varied learning styles. I know that some people are auditory, some people are visual, some people are kinesthetic learners. And when you can get in there and really experience something and have a conversation with a real human right in front of you, that's when the most impact is made. So one of the highlights for this particular event, Reclaiming the Divine Flow State, was our sound bowl healing or sound bath. Now, when you're able to really tap into the sounds that are coming from the bowls, it will really help you drop into that meditative state, which allows you to release your fear state or fear response in your reptilian brain, which is down here in the back brain, and allow you to tap into your higher functioning brain centers. Imagination network, your salient network, which is your drive and motivation. And as you start to impact and activate and awaken those areas in your brain, you're more likely to maintain positive behavioral change. And that's really the whole point of these events, is to help give people an experience so that they can feel something and something clicks and changes, and it becomes more important to them to create that intrinsic motivation for continuing on in self-care. Now, if you'd like to get more involved and host an event like this, don't hesitate to get in touch with me. I teach globally and nationally throughout the year. I have a strong network of yoga teachers, coaches, movement artists, and healing therapists as well, and I'd love to help facilitate for you.
All right, So how many of you guys know about the different brain waves? Raise your hand if you're familiar. Okay. So delta brain waves are most common in deep sleep. Firstly, electrical impulses of neurons can be measured in frequency in hertz. So at any point in time during your waking hours or your sleeping hours, you can actually measure the frequency of your brain. Theta brain waves are present in deep meditation. Your alpha brain waves are you're being present or fully immersed in what you're doing. Beta is usually where we spend the majority of our day. So that picture that we saw with the guy with the crazy brain, that's really where we're at often if we're not paying attention to our breath or paying attention to actively meditating as a self-care practice. Gamma brainwaves are a bit different. Those are the highest frequency, 38 to 42 hertz. And gamma brainwaves are also strongly associated with the higher virtues, such as altruism, universal love. It can actually shift your consciousness if you are in a gamma brainwave state often. So, for example, meditating Buddhist monks who practice regularly have higher gamma brainwaves when you measure them in various different studies. And it's also correlated with flow state. So how many of you guys are familiar with the flow psychology, that phenomenon? Has anybody ever heard of that? All right, so flow is defined by several different markers. So being completely immersed in the activity at hand, being hyper-focused, losing concept of time. Time might either speed up or slow down. You lose timidity or self-consciousness in the act that you're doing. You become really, really fully immersed in it. And you have this spontaneous joy that occurs. So think about an activity that puts you into a flow state. Some people it might be snowboarding, like getting out there on the mountain and just getting into flow. Some people it might be mountain biking, downhill mountain biking. Some people it might be painting or reading or photography. Name a couple of things that you guys do to get into flow state or that puts you into flow state. So just go ahead and raise your hand and share. Yeah?
Riding my motorcycle on a sunny day.
Sweet, awesome. Any others?
Running.
Running, nice.
Cooking.
Cooking, cool. Sweet, so there's these activities that we can do that our brain gets turned on into the gamma brainwave state. And flow and creativity are actually highly correlated. You can't teach somebody to be creative, but you can assist them in tapping into flow, and then creativity is the natural byproduct of being in that space. And the reason for that is if you look at the brain here, down towards the bottom you have the reptilian brain. This is the first part of the brain that was created, or as we evolved and have a bigger cortex, we have different areas that are available for us to access. So in the higher functioning brain, we have what's called an executive network, which is several different networks working together to do decision-making tasks. We have the salient network, which is our motivation and drive. And we have the imagination network. The imagination network is a network that we use when we're daydreaming or creating a new idea and visualizing that idea. That's the imagination network. So when you are in a flow state or tapping into creativity, you have all three of those networks working together: salient network, executive network, imagination network, and bouncing back between all different networks to identify a myriad of possibilities. When we're in a fear state and just operating in the reptilian brain, which triggers the amygdala, which then triggers the fear response, the low-grade stress response that we showed on the earlier slide, we're not open to as many possibilities, and we're not accessing our higher functioning brain centers. So if you take anything away from this lecture today, get yourself into a flow state often, prioritize self-care so you can clear the noise of your nervous system and start tapping into flow, because flow is going to be where you get the most out of your creative time. I talked a little bit before about how gamma brainwaves are associated with universal love, altruism, and higher virtues. It's speculated that gamma rhythms modulate perception and consciousness, and that a greater presence of gamma waves relates to expanded consciousness and spiritual emergence. So as we start to elevate in our consciousness through the practice of flow, through the practice of meditation, and realizing that we're not our thoughts, but that we just have a physical vessel, we have an ego, we have a subconscious mind and a conscious mind, and an unconscious mind as well, which we'll go through, that we can start to serve others and embody love and embody these higher virtues. And through that, when you raise your vibrational frequency through this practice, you start to attract like energy to your life. So this is a big thing that I coach people on, is helping people to overcome subconscious self-limiting beliefs that they might not even know are present, and start to release the fears that are keeping them down here when really their highest self wants to be up here. They have big dreams, but there's these subconscious beliefs that are holding them back, because what's happening in the brain is that low-grade stress response over time. It's a chronic cycle that keeps repeating unless you can consciously break the cycle through self-care, meditation, and personal development. So we need real solutions. This photo on the left here was taken, Anthony and I were just on a road trip to California. I was teaching in Fresno, Northern California, and I took a barefoot challenge after teaching in New York the week prior at a barefoot summit. I was really inspired by a woman that I met there who founded the woman who hosted the event, she founded Embodying Technology, which is like a barefoot training yoga mat. And this other woman, she's a 60-year-old woman who has been barefooting for 7 years straight. She has not worn shoes in 7 years. And she created this shoe that really is not a shoe, it's like a flap of fabric so she doesn't get kicked out of public places, like restaurants and shops and things. So I was really inspired by her, and I decided I'm going to take 7 days and go barefoot. And what I found was that there is so much information that we miss on a daily basis that can be gathered through the small nerve proprioceptors in our feet. And when we wear shoes, though they protect us from glass and dirt and things, we're missing out on temperature, texture, different terrain, and connecting with our environment. What I found in that 7-day challenge for myself, and we were actually traveling and on the road, but I found that I was in a calmer state and I was much more relaxed just from that simple act of connecting with the ground. So if you want to try little challenges, try going a day barefoot. See what happens. We need real solutions. We need recovery-based training. We don't need to do more high-intensity things because we already are doing high-intensity things all the time with the stimuli that we receive from devices, from our high-stress lifestyle. We need to integrate a 4-day wave. And this is another cornerstone of the coaching that I do, founded by Scott Sonnen. But we need to integrate recovery-based training into our physical training in a meaningful way, not a sporadic, randomized way, but a really meaningful way. So how do we do that? Oh, firstly, let's go back to recovery-based training. So the recovery-based training modalities that I specialize in: club yoga, doTERRA essential oils. I do consults at my Fit Body Wellness studio for anyone that wants to get started on oils. And the RAD Roller self-myofascial release. These little tools up here will literally change your life for the best if you start to integrate them on a daily basis or even a weekly basis. And I am holding an event this Saturday from 1 to 4 at Inspire. If you're interested in learning about how to use these modalities, it's super affordable. It's meant for the lay public, anyone that wants to come and learn how to use these tools for spine, shoulders, and hips. Just get a hold of me or go to the Fit Body Wellness website to get yourself registered. I'd love to see some of you guys there practicing self-care. I'll bring my oils too. So why recovery-based training? Well, the physiological reasons for doing recovery-based training, firstly, to mobilize the joints. When we have compensation patterns that set in from being like this all the time or being like this all the time or becoming chair-shaped essentially, we lose range of motion. So the main goal for recovery-based training is to mobilize the joints, increase synovial fluid into the joints, increase ground substance into the fascia to keep the fascia pliable, and restore lost range of motion, improve body awareness and body image, and reduce pain and inflammation. Again, once you start to prioritize your physical vessel, you'll notice other things start to shift in your life as well, and in your thinking. So flow state of mind coaching, again, the cornerstone of flow state of mind coaching is you gotta start with a physical vessel, and everything else kind of moves out from there. But these are some of the clients and brands that I've worked with. Some of these are local, some of these are out of state or out of country. But I've developed this flow state of mind coaching program to basically have an elite level of coaching for people to work on mindset. So transitioning from just the physical vessel into how do I develop a mindset for success. And that's my mission statement there. I coach emerging entrepreneurs to create a mindset of flow and build authentic brands with heart. All right, let's consider the 4-day wave for training. So this little wave here is a good representation of how to wave your training. So if I was to start my training on Sunday, Sunday would be my no intensity day down at the bottom of the wave. No intensity activities include things like joint mobility. So there's a sequence called Into Flow. You can find it on my YouTube channel if you want. It's just moving each joint through its full range of motion, forward and back, then laterally, then in a circular pattern, which is more complex, and then in a figure-8 pattern, which is even more complex than the circular pattern. This calms the nervous system by wringing out the fascia and starting, again, to mobilize the joints and create more fluidity in movement. Low-intensity activities would be things like yoga, or FlowFit is another example. I consider FlowFit low intensity. Some people might consider that a higher moderate intensity. Moderate intensity would be doing a high-intensity interval training circuit for 20 minutes max for using different protocols, and your goal is to focus on technique and focus on your cadence and not blasting yourself to 90 or even 100% of your heart rate max, but staying in the 70% of heart rate max zone and really, really emphasizing coordinated breath with each and every movement. And something really cool happens when you train, and I know this from my years of work with Scott Sonnen and training athletes and training coaches. Something really cool happens in that 12 to 18 minute mark if you're doing complex movements with perfect form with your breath synchronized. In the 12 to 18 minute mark, what happens is called a neuroimmunoendocrine response, where your brain switches gears and the movements that you're doing start to become more efficient. So you kind of get into that zone or that flow state where things become easier, your immunity boosts up, and your endocrine system becomes more balanced. Hormonal balance is really, really critical for optimizing your training, and if you're not doing a training system that emphasizes that, I encourage you to explore options and talk to your trainer or find programs that really emphasize that, because it will do you a world of good. So the moderate and then the high intensity day would be, so we got Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So Wednesday you're peaking at you're doing the same workout that you did on the moderate intensity day, but you're adding a little bit of power and making it a little bit more like 80% of heart rate max. Why doing the same workout back to back 2 days in a row? It actually decreases your lactic acid buildup so that you don't get as sore, and you're training your nervous system to become more efficient at the exercises that you're doing and at the movements that you're doing. And then it drops back down to no intensity and then cycles back through. So you can create this 4-day wave and just do 4 days consistently. Try it out, even if you don't know about club levels yet. Just try out with bodyweight exercises that you're doing. And if you really need to come get some professional coaching, come to the Fit Body Wellness Studio. We do 40% off of our first 3 sessions at the studio, and you can work privately with a coach. That transition spot there is key, because after you come off this high intensity and dropping down to no intensity, there's a time for reflection and a time to congratulate yourself for actually sticking to the 4-day wave and for starting a new behavior or a new practice. Consider the 4-day wave in business. So in the same way that our body needs recovery-based training, we also need to periodize our approach to getting into that creative zone. So it starts with self-care, balancing the nervous system so that you can be out of your reptilian brain and accessing the higher functioning brain centers. That would be self-care. Research, which preps you for eventually getting to that creativity stage. I'll go through in a little bit more detail with what each of these are or how I implement them. Productivity would be, so these are correlated. Self-care is no intensity. Research is low intensity. You don't need a ton of brain power to read something or to gather information and gather a bunch of documents to gather ideas and synthesize information. Productivity, tapping into getting that stuff done. This is like the majority of the things that we do which cause overwhelm. But if you batch everything that you're doing, all of your productivity related tasks, write them down, physically write them down, start crossing them off when you know you're doing your productivity day, you'll clear space for creativity. And creativity is really a sacred place, a sacred space to be in for the mind. And to get that high, potent creative energy, it's really important to go through this process or to go through building up to that. The common thing that most entrepreneurs expect themselves to do is to jump right into creativity right away. And that forcing yourself to get into that space and trying to pump ideas out without going through research and productivity and clearing that space is really difficult and challenging, and you'll get much more out of it if you waive self-care, research, productivity, and creativity. Any questions on that real quick before we move to the next one? Yeah.
Would you match that to a physical exercise?
Yes,
days?
actually, good question. So self-care totally correlates with our intensity day. Research, you could have your research be your yoga day, so you're just gently doing yoga, then you've got a 2-hour time chunk where you're doing your research. And productivity, if I need to get things done, you bet I'm going to do a moderate intensity workout to clear my nervous system and start motivating me to create that fire or that yang energy to go into productivity. And creativity, I'm feeling really awesome when I've done my workout, the second day, the 80% heart rate max, I'm feeling pumped. And actually that's what I did yesterday, was I did the TacFit Qual workout and then finished up this slide show, which took me a really long time, but I tapped into that creative zone. Okay, so question, yeah.
So can you use that in a shorter time span too?
Yeah. Oh, like in one day?
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely recommend having a self-care practice every day, and I'll go through on the next slide what my cornerstones of flow state of mind coaching are for self-care. But for people in the corporate world, if you batch things like this, you're going to get more out of your time versus if you try to multitask and try to do everything all at once. Like batch things in 1 to 2 hour time chunks, because the brain can only focus on specific sustained attention for 1 to 2 hours, and then you get distracted and need to take a break and then transition. So I'd recommend batching all of this stuff into those time chunks. All right, so self-care practice. I recommend all of my flow state of mind coaching clients and just people in general that come to these workshops, start with 10 minutes of open monitoring meditation in the morning. Couple it with something that you already do. So that could be getting your first glass of water in the morning or brushing your teeth. Couple it with something that's already taking place as part of your morning ritual. And then after that, try doing a daily journal entry to gather objective feedback, an emotional check-in. And the objective feedback is just writing down your most dominant emotions at that particular point in time. Physical body check-in. How's my physical body feeling? Am I sore? Am I digestion off? Am I sleep off? Am I anxious? Am I on my cycle? Writing those physical check-ins underneath that section. 3 things that you'd like to manifest. Again, your thoughts start to become your actions, and your subconscious mind will start to take small actions to start manifesting those things that you want to manifest if you simply write them down. And then 3 things to release for that day. 3 things that no longer serve you. Self-care practice, flow-based training, definitely get yourself on a 4-day wave. Try it out 7 days. Try it out for 4 days and see how you feel. And then self-myofascial release as a way to calm the nervous system. I also do get body work, or I encourage my clients to do, like a lot of people work is all they do, or parenting is all they do. They don't make time for themselves. I really, really encourage people to carve a 2-hour, even 1-hour time chunk out to do something for you, because that symbolizes you starting to prioritize self-care in your life. Research, practice what's called sustained attention instead of divided attention or alternating attention, also known as multitasking. This can contribute to a chaotic state in the brain when you are trying to do many things all at once. So when you're setting out to do your research, make a clear list of what it is that you want to research. Maybe you're researching platforms, business models, marketing, web design, or how social media works. And then set out to do that research, gather the information, Maybe you're storing that in different files, or you're just getting organized. Moving into productivity, that's the most efficient way to get your stuff done is to batch things. So if you're receiving emails throughout the day, flag them. You don't have to respond to every single email right at that moment. You can also batch your tasks. So if you're responding to emails, maybe you have a 2-hour time chunk where you're sitting down and responding to all of them. Meetings and leadership. As a business owner and entrepreneur, it's really important that you empower others to take over the tasks that are eating up your time. So how can you create more systems in your life and in your business to become more productive and more efficient so that you don't have to do everything? Other things that fall under the productivity category are contracts, proposals, coordinating events or promoting events. You'll see I have this visual with pencil. How many of you guys actually physically write things down for your to-do list? Okay, cool. So just as a thing that you can kind of focus on, try categorizing your research, your productivity, and your creative tasks and waving them. So starting with research on Monday, moving into productivity on Tuesday. Maybe you're more creative at night, so Wednesday evening is the time that you get to create that thing that you've always wanted to create and put out into the world. And then creativity is a sacred space. I recommend using meditation as a way to tap into that creativity. So meditating on the end user, who's going to be enjoying either the product that you're creating, the business or the event that you're putting on. Meditate on the end user and visualize all aspects of that creative process prior to getting into creative mode. And then using like a ritual, like I encourage people to create a space that's calm to be in, that they're excited to be in, that they look forward to being in. And I just do like a simple meditation, light a candle, light some incense or do some essential oil, something to trigger the brain that this is a sacred time to create. And clearing my plate the day before, getting rid of all, or getting my productive tasks done. Of course, you're going to have distractions. You're going to have noise, physical noise in your house. You might have distracting thoughts. You might be tending to other people's needs, getting those Facebook Messenger messages or texts or whatnot. But I encourage you to put that stuff away when you're getting into creative mode. And I sometimes will set a timer for an hour to 2 hours where I stay completely focused on the task that I'm doing. If I see messages coming through, I do not answer them, because every time you answer someone else, it takes away from what you're doing. Fears and self-limiting beliefs, there's a very specific process for recognizing the somatic response that those have on your body and starting to release those. Physical pain can be distracting if you have inflammation in your body or achy joints, or you're just not taking care of your physical vessel. It's going to be really hard to tap into creative work. And too much doing, not enough being. I like this quote from Joseph Campbell. We must be willing to let go of the life we've planned so as to have the life that is waiting for us. So oftentimes we want to have control of everything, but if you step into your natural flow and the flow of nature and the flow of the universe, risk being a little wooey for the scientific crowd, but if you step into the natural flow, you'll see that things come to you with much less effort, and that's the goal, is to allow things to flow to you instead of always chasing them. Sorry, this slide got a little funkified here. So I like this visual for the subconscious mind. So your conscious mind is only a very small portion of how you're interacting in community with people. So that's your thoughts, your speech. It could be conveyed in pictures. It can be conveyed in decisions that you're making. Your subconscious mind are your most recent memories that you have, and your thoughts and behaviors are definitely heavily influenced by your subconscious mind. And your unconscious mind is like the storehouse for every single thing that has happened to you in your life. It's stored in your nervous system, because usually you have an emotional response to touch, to interactions with people, to different events that happen in your life. You're storing those in your unconscious mind. Your unconscious and your subconscious mind are constantly communicating at all times, so that you, and then the subconscious mind then communicates with the conscious mind. But you're creating your ideas, your beliefs, based on all of this feedback that you're receiving from your nervous system. So I've really been heavily invested in how we change behavior, and it comes from reprogramming your subconscious mind consciously. That's kind of a mind and a little tongue twister there. But our habits, beliefs, and behavior can be altered if we take initiative to start reprogramming our subconscious mind. Fear-based thinking triggers your amygdala response. There's a nice visual of it there if you're curious where the amygdala is. That low-grade stress response increases your cortisol levels, adrenaline, epinephrine. Your reptilian brain is then in a fight or flight stage, a low-grade form of it at all times, and it prevents us from doing the things that we really, really want to do. So the process is reprogramming your subconscious mind to serve others, take action often, pursue your passions, establish a rhythm of flow, incorporating the 4-day wave in both physical training and in your business and work life. Default to gratitude in the morning. As a part of your journaling, you can just journal about the things and people that you're grateful for to raise your vibrational frequency. Again, getting into that gamma brainwave state. Eliminating scarcity mindset and reframing fear of failure as feedback. So there's been many times that I could have given up on this whole club bell yoga thing. My first seminars, they definitely look a lot different than how I teach them now, but every time I've put something out into the world, I've gotten the feedback and then refined it to make it better the next time. And I'm still in that process. Other things that you can do to take action, if you're interested in coming, we have a retreat happening in Costa Rica, which will be this is like a full-blown program of implementing flow state of mind, club bell yoga, primal 12, and we'll be doing the 4-day wave at this retreat. And then other options, fit body wellness training. I have a course called Momentum, which is an online course that you can do at home, and I just put this out as like a $50 off code. The program's $149, but if you use the code, you get $50 off. So you basically get 8 different full hour coaching calls for under $9 a call, which is pretty cool. And they're all on video, so you can do them at your leisure, and they also come with homework as well. All right, so that was a mouthful. Thank you guys.